natin to Bakit to punk? Ito mga kamets, lagay na lang natin dito. Yan. Para naman! Yan Yan. Wait lang. Yung charger ko, low-bat na yata Sige, let's do this! Let's do this! Energy! 1, 2, 3. Showtime. Okay. Let's go. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Showtime. 1, 2, 3. Yan! Showtime. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Showtime! Kamusta naman kayo dyan? Exactly at 8 p.m. mga kamets, mga ka-haze. May nagsabi mga ka-haze, mga ka-haydar yan. Kamusta naman kayo dyan? Yan, bago mag-facts first, mag-meta first. Ayan na naman tayo Baka mahalo tayo ni ni paring Christian Esguerra. Ganda ng profile pic. Pulang-pula, diba? Tuloy, kinamit natin siya. Don't worry mga kamets, ka-haze, gagawa rin tayo ng sarili natin, t-shirt, muna tayo, ipon muna tayo. Ayan, para may pangtapat naman tayo dyan sa facts first. Okay, base sa mga intel reports, kasi may confidential fund din tayo. Base sa ating intel reports, mukhang 8:30 pa naman si Christian Esguerra, so may time pa siya mag-troll sa akin. Yan, tinotroll tayo last time ni Parang Ronald for our R&R show. Mamay si Ronald, tatawagin na naman yung Richard si Christian. Ayan tayo, delikado dyan. Mga kameta, marami tayong pag-usapan. Dami nangyayari sa ating minamahal na bansa. Including of course, mga kameta sa West Philippine Sea. May mga nangyayari dyan. Medyo mag-update naman tayo dyan. Pag-usapan din natin yung mga latest sa ating politika. May connection lahat po yan. Alam niyo naman katulad natin, kinoconnect natin lahat. Mga kamets, Zaddy moves. Yeah. Ayan wala kailangan natin tapatan ang facts first. Siyempre si facts first, ganda ng setup, meron siyang dito dyan. So, yan lang mga bawi na lang tayo sa mga the moves. Alright. Okay, tama yan. Seryoso na tayo mga kameta. Actually, I was hoping to start much earlier kasi pumalpak tayo kanina kasi ganda ng pasok ko kanina, labas ako, nakasuot ko yung Italian shoes natin na 10-15 years ago na nabili natin sa sale kasi para magsasara na natin yung tapos binili ko yan. So, after 10 years, sinusuot natin yan. Proud na proud tayo. Paglakad, boom! Wala na yung isang sole niya. Sabi ko, nako po, paano yan? So, kumuha pa tayo ng plastic, nilagay natin sa loob ng plastic habang nagtatrabaho tayo. And then dumaan pa si parang Jono Gibbs kanina, nag-hi tayo, etc. Ayan, tapos pagpunta naman natin dyan sa Mr. Quickie. Punta tayo sa Mr. Quickie, para naman medyo mura. Italian shoes, medyo sablay, Mr. Quickie, ayan. Pagkita ko, ba't yung kabila rin, medyo alanganin. Tuloy, umuwi tayo ng walang sapatos. Buti na lang medyo malapit yung mall doon sa bahay. Kaya medyo nakaraos naman, nakauwi tayo. Kaya pasensya na, medyo late tayo. At medyo galit pa rin tayo doon sa mga Mr. Quickie kasi sinabi ni Madam, pwede na maayusin yung zipper. Pagdala namin zipper, ay masyadong malaking bag, hindi pwede. So, mahabang usapan yan, let's go back to serious stuff. Facts first muna tayo. Okay, alright. Actually, there are two things you want to talk about, quite separate issues, but I think they're very much related. First of all, itong development na nakita natin. So, on the domestic political front, and this has a lot of implications also on the international front, meron daw mga movements against former President, former Speaker of the House, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Some are wondering if this can be connected to broader realignments and at the same time fault lines that we're seeing within the ruling coalition. Of course, pinag-usapan natin yung mga hidwaan sa pagitan ng the whole tambaluslos kind of controversy. Pinag-usapan natin yan with R&all, with Ronald, etc. But of course, we know that a lot of the tensions within the ruling coalition, nagsimula talaga ito mga kamets, mga kahays, when na-demote si former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, former Speaker of the House Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, dun sa rankings, no? Dun sa hierarchy ng congressional or House leadership. And then that essentially was seen as a kind of a first salvo, di ba? And the next thing you know, opening salvo, no? And the next thing you know, of course, nagalit si Sara Duterte kasi malapit si Vice President Sara Duterte kay Arroyo. And next thing you know, lumabas na the whole tambaluslos stuff. Now, the thing is, we're now wondering what's going on here dito sa loob, no? Over the past few months. Because comparatively, medyo quiet yung camp ni President Arroyo. Although the President Arroyo camp had to come out actually not long ago when lumabas itong pinagsasabi ng China na may presidente daw na nangako sa kanila na daw tatanggalin daw yung Sierra Madre na niligay ni Erap. Of course, sinabi nila Jinggoy and JV, ay hindi tatay namin, macho yung tatay namin, hindi mag-withdraw. Pag nilagay namin yung Sierra Madre dyan, hindi namin tatanggal yan. Bakit namin tatanggalin yan? Ano ba kayo? So, walang evidence ng China na Erap, si President Erap ang nangako sa kanila. And I think it's totally nonsensical like si President Erap. And then, of course, the next suspicion, or the next source of suspicion, or the next target of suspicion rather, was the Arroyo administration, which came after Estrada administration and had very warm relationship with China. No, in fact, that's the beginning of the whole golden era conversation about China. Marami tayong nasulat about that. You can check it online. Among others, I can also post it here. And of course, we know that President Arroyo herself, in many ways, served as a de facto foreign policy advisor to multiple presidents over the past decade or so, from President Duterte to President Marcos Jr. Secret weapon naman daw ni Marcos Jr. nang bumisita siya sa China. Yun ang pag-describe niya kay President Arroyo. But the thing is, President Arroyo actually came out not long ago to immediately shut down etong mga insinuations na baka yung administration niya ang nangako na i-withdraw yung BRP Sierra Madre. And of course, that's a kind of a proposal that for some people made sense in light of the controversies around the now unconstitutional, of course formally unconstitutional, Joint Maritime Seismic Undertaking Deal, yung JMSU deal na nasign ni President Arroyo together with two communist countries, not one but two communist countries, together with Vietnam and China, to manage the disputes. Of course, their intentions was to put things on an even keel, but the JMSU was extremely controversial, and eventually it was ruled as unconstitutional because it's not in consonance with the Philippine Constitution pagdating sa ating mga claims sa West Philippine Sea. And not to mention, of course, there were also concerns about lack of proper consultations with major stakeholders kasi may mga secrecy clauses pa yung JMSU. So anyway, the JMSU is not only moot and academic because it lapsed, it was not renewed and fully implemented after 2008 onwards, but more recently also had the Supreme Court ruling it out. But some people were trying to connect that and to say that baka naman in the context of that, President Arroyo may have made certain promises. But in fairness to President Arroyo, she came out very clearly the other month, ito yung August, and sinabi niya, I never promised China to remove BRP Sierra Madre Jan sa Ayungin, or Second Thomas Show. So former President, former Speaker of the House, Arroyo was absolutely clear about this. That's nonsense. Any kind of implications na may kinalaman siya sa mga pangako niyan, wala. So obviously, the next target of suspicion is not Aquino, because Aquino was very tough towards China throughout his term, especially after 2012, after the whole Scarborough Shoal. But it fell on Digong. And si Digong, papunta sa China, etc. Wala tayong clarity about what happened during the Digong time. Did he promise anything to China during the negotiations of a potential joint development agreement or a service contract sa West Philippine Sea? Pinag-usapan natin in greater detail dun sa ating Meta podcast with former Associate Justice Carpio. Of course, has been advising multiple administration on this issue and was very much involved dun sa arbitration case natin in 2013 to 2016 against China, which of course we won big time. But of course the issue always was how to effectuate that, which is something we're going to discuss later on. No, so anyway, so after that again, quiet si President Arroyo, but more recently na naman, certain individuals or certain groups look like parang they're pushing the envelope. No, so the latest thing, and somehow this could be related. I mean, it has a connection to West Philippine Sea because Malampaya and all of that has a dimension of West Philippine Sea. So now, there are a group of people who want to push the envelope and have been wrapping, New cases over alleged misuse of 38 billion pesos of Malampaya plant, no? So let's just a little bit look at the details. Basahin lang natin yan. Facts first. Okay, nasaan natuloy? Wait lang. Baka magalit na naman. Okay. Nawala yung ano natin. Walang yan. Ayan, ito. Ang dami kasi natin bukas ng mga... Ayan. Dami natin bukas. Ito. Okay. Let's go to this. Mga kamets. So, electricity consumer advocates filed cases for graft and malversation before the Office of the Ombudsman against former President Arroyo for allegedly misusing 38.8, almost 39 billion pesos of Malampaya fund. Ayon sa mga complainants, namely the National Association of Electricity Consumers for Reforms Incorporated, NASECOR, and Boses ng Consumer Alliance Incorporation. And kasi Grand Prix ni BBM, nagpo-French na tayo, Alliance Incorporation, BKI, based their arguments from a special audit report of the Commission on Audit released noong 2017 kung saan na detalya yung alleged misuse of 900 million pesos of the Malampaya Fund. Ang accusation laban kay Arroyo is that allegedly nag-abuse siya ng presidential discretion provided under Presidential Decree number 910 or the Energy Development Fund, which aimed to finance energy projects. The provision allows for the use of the funds for, quote, other purposes that may be determined by the President. Confidential fund ba to? They said Arroyo funneled the funds, ayon sa kanila, from Malampaya to agriculture and irrigation programs, transfer projects, national security activities, and cash assistance to the transport sector. So again, may aspect naman ng realignments and what is doing with the funds. While disbursements may have served a public purpose, the group said, quote, the same ultimately frustrated the country's drive towards energy independence, leaving the energy consumers at the mercy of a volatile world market and inhibiting growth. Ito yung detailed breakdown of where the money went. 10 billion pesos went to the Department of National Defense, AFP, and different military branches. 9 billion pesos went to National Electrification Administration, National Power Corporation. 5.8 billion went to the Department of Agriculture. 4.8 billion went to the Department of Public Works and Highways. 3 billion went to the Department of Finance. Blah, 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 so on and so forth. And only 15 million pesos went to the Philippine Coast Guard. So respondent Gloria Macabalari whimsically took the opportunity, ayon sa kanila, the said loss inadequacy and deliberately twisted the interpretation of the said provision to mean that she as the president had this. Okay, so essentially the idea is that na misuse, misallocate, and inappropriately na-reallocate yung mga funds for Malampaya kung saan-saan, which kind of went against the very purpose of the fund, and that also undermined, ayon sa mga complainants, yung long-term viability of developing our own energy resources. Now, obviously the situation in the Malampaya is, to put it mildly, alanganin, because kung titignan nyo yung nangyari ngayon sa ating bansa, don't worry, didikit natin sa West Philippines, kaya connected lahat yan eh. Okay, so katulad ng pinag-usapan namin ni Justice Scorpion not long ago, if you look at it, ito ang problema natin. So as I mentioned in the article today, yung article ko today on Philippine Daily Inquiry, in my column, I explained that President Marcos Jr. is facing 2 ticking time bombs sa West Philippine Sea. Sa isang banda, of course, yun yung problema sa Ayungin Shoal, di ba? Yung Sierra Madre, of course, alam niyo naman Sierra Madre, yung BRP Sierra Madre, World War II, rusted, dilapidated ship, grounded by ERA, yun na. And nung panahon ni ERAP, of course, we grounded it, we rammed it into the area, and of course, the argument is, walang kinalaman ng China dapat dito sa nangyari sa Ayungin Shoal because, paki na lang, this is within our exclusive economic zone, it's not even a territory to be claimed. But anyway, the problem kasi is, bibigay na yung Sierra Madre na yan, diba? It's just a matter of time that gives in to the elements. So something drastic has to be done about that, whether we're gonna put another vessel there, or whether we're gonna build new structures in the area, whether we're gonna put some concrete structures around the BRP Sierra Madre as it gives into the elements. Something drastic has to be done about that because it's a matter of months probably, if not years, bago bibigay na itong BRP Sierra Madre. No? So katulad ng dun sa isang podcast discussion natin with former Admiral Ong, sabi niya actually the expectation was much early no pandemic time pa dapat nawala na yan. But tumagal yan for some reason, but still, something has to be done. But the second time bomb, ticking time bomb, is etong problema. Yung Malampaya plant ay paubos na. Okay? And we need alternative sources to develop. No, alternative sources developed for our national security. And the problem is that the most viable alternative area for energy resource natural gas development is nandyan sa Reed Bank. O, yung si Senator Robin Hood, sabi niya, wala daw nangyari naman nung panahon ni Digong. Everything was going fine daw, perfect. Well, Google, Reed Bank, crisis, 2019. What on earth was going on there? So obviously, inaras tayo sa Reed Bank and piniprevent tayo ng mga Chinese militias, Chinese Coast Guard, Chinese vessels for more than a decade. Alright? Doon sa mga hindi nag-google, paki-google yan. For more than a decade, nagsulat po tayo ng mga libro, mga academic articles dyan, so medyo alam natin sinasabi natin. Okay, so for more than a decade, prevent tayo ng China from developing yung mga resources dyan sa Reed Bank, and essentially binubuli tayo into negotiating a joint development agreement. Now, it was supposed to be service contract, and then now suddenly they don't want that, they want a joint development agreement. Kasi in a service contract, parang sa Malampaya, yung kumpanya na magde-develop dyan, tanggap nila yung sovereignty natin. But that's not gonna be the case if it's a joint development agreement, because per on clause, that happens when two countries have overlapping claims and kind of recognize that each side has a legitimate sovereignty claim. So you send that and you join development. Anyway, walang napuntahan yan sa panahon ni Digong, no? So that was put aside, pinark yan, walang nangyari. Ang problema is, good news, yes, hindi tayo nag-negotiate ng mga kapalpakan or something even potentially treacherous or worse under the previous administration on the Reed Bank front. But the reality is, paubos pa rin yung Malampaya in the meantime, at hindi pa rin na-develop yung nangyari sa Reed Bank. So you have two ticking time bomb at the same time, putting the Marcos administration under tremendous amount of pressure to do something about it. So the energy security aspect is gonna stare us, right? Stare at us in the coming years. And actually, we are, in fact, staring into an energy security crisis abyss not long from now. Because even if today tayo mag-drill and may mahanap talaga tayo sa Reed Bank ng big time na mga resources, it will take us years before we fully develop it and to be able to make the transition from paubos na Malampaya plan and you put something else, meaning Reed Bank, operational now. Halos hanggang ngayon, wala pa rin nangyari kasi binubuli na naman tayo ng China. So yun ang problema natin. We cannot develop our resources because we are being prevented from doing that by someone who has absolutely no legitimate claim in the area, because the only basis for China to claim the Reed Bank is the 9-dash line, which was invalidated by international arbitration. Now, before we go deeper into the issue of West Philippines, at mukhang paubos natin yung charger ko, lagay natin ang charger natin, ay malapit na rin yung facts first ni Sara, so kailangan natin tapusin to, baka naman. Joke lang. Balikan natin to. So, let's park muna the West Philippines issue a little bit there, kasi balikan natin yan shortly. The thing is, the Arroyo situation, as much as it has a foreign policy dimension, as I also argued, what's happening in the Philippines is something very, very interesting. All right? The cliche is that all politics is local, right? But the thing in the Philippines is that one of the reasons why we are seeing a fault line within the ruling coalition, the whole unity team, is actually disagreement on foreign policy issue, including on China, on West Philippines, etc. And some are wondering if the attacks on Arroyo, as legitimate as some of these, the concerns about hindi na ginawa na maayos yung energy security, blah blah whatever. Some are wondering if this is a proxy war. This is a proxy war to isolate yung allies ni Sara, or those who are allied to Sara, to kind of eventually also isolate Sara. So some are looking at that dimension. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's one interpretation that is coming out. Okay, first, you're demoted from the ranks. Second thing, some are insinuating that you made some dodgy promises to China. Of course, President Arroyo, former president, has shut down all of those things. And then later on, of course, now that you have this raps being filed against her. Now, I don't think it will go that far. I have my reasons to be confident about that. Okay, ibang usapan yan. But still, some are wondering if a proxy war is happening internally, right? And that these things are not happening in isolation, that one of these things are coincidental, but actually something is going on. So, siguro, iwanan natin kay Ronald to spell it out, alright? Okay, alam mo naman. We're fair, we're legitimate, we are, how should I put it? We are objective, so I'll leave it to Ronald to say things. Alright, okay, on that note, thank you very much mga kameta, medyo low bat na tayo. Okay? Medyo lobat-lobat na tayo. Let me thank everyone for watching out. Kasi kung ako ng charger, tataya ako, whatever. Okay. Bukas na lang natin pag-usapan yung ibang issue katulad ng West Philippine Sea. No? Kasi I wanted to actually do a long talk on dito siya, issue sa West Philippine Sea. Since right now, nagsisimula na po yung sama-sama naval exercises. That's pretty big thing. Pretty big itong sama-sama naval exercises na yan. Kasama ang United States, Canada, Japan, pati New Zealand, Australia, nagpadala, Indonesia even, nagpadala ng mga observers. So siguro bukas na lang natin pag-usapan yan, no? Separately. And then in the meantime, there's another thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys, speaking of West Philippines, is actually arbitration case. Tinitignan din natin ang additional arbitration case. So I wanted to explain to you guys what could be the strategy here if we're gonna go for an additional arbitration case based on the precedents that we set to our arbitration award victory in 2016, particularly looking at Article 287 of UNCLOS, Article 287 of UNCLOS on compulsory arbitration. At tignan natin ano yung pwedeng mga benefits sa Philippines in terms of leverage. Because, again, as I said, may ticking time bomb tayo na dalawa. Yung isa, paubos na yung Malampaya plant pero hindi pa rin natin na-develop yung reed bank kasi naubuli tayo. At pangalawa, yung sa BRP Sierra Madre, sa may Ayungin Shoal, bumibigay na yung Sierra Madre. So kailangan natin, we need to do something there to reinforce our claims and avoid the kind of a serious situation. So, posible na may mga nag-iisip sa loob na baka if we move on the arbitration front, habang kumukuha tayo ng suporta sa ating mga allies, we can put the pressure on China. We can take the fight to China and we can force them to negotiating table and get some real concession, extract some concessions from them to say, wag niyong buliin kung gumawa ka ng new structures dyan sa Ayungin Shoal. And pangalawa, we need to do something about read back. Maybe let's do a service contract. We'll allow Sinopec or CNPC to be our partner in developing that area, but do not prevent us from moving forward because our national economic and energy security is at stake and we cannot wait anymore. Both Aquino and Duterte were not able to develop the reed bank because of the bullying and harassment. So something has to change there. So my sense is that is the logic behind the arbitration that is being thought about. Not to mention, of course, legitimate concerns about environmental damage and also the idea that we can build on our arbitration award case in 2016 to push for damages, no? And if China at pumalag sila, their assets in other countries, in Canada, in United States, in Europe, whatever, could be seized, no? Especially in state-owned companies of China. So those are the things that I think we can discuss in a separate episode. Pasensya na, medyo lobat na pala ako, hindi ko inaayos dito. And then malapit na si Facts First. So, ayaw naman natin mag-overlap dyan. So, pang-warm up lang naman tayo, di ba? Yeah. Okay, anyway. So, many things are happening. So, as you can see here, grabe yung situation sa Philippine politics right now because there's two dynamic situation existing simultaneously. So parang may two, it's like playing playing on a three-dimensional chessboard that are superimposed on each other, and each of them are moving with different velocity and with different players playing different games. No, so meron kang West Philippines situation there, which inevitably is also related to the whole Malampaya issue, and inevitably is also related to the internal disagreements and fault lines we're seeing within the so-called unity or the Grand Coalition there. And that could create also opening for the opposition, progressives. Internationally, could also make an opening for stronger alliances, traditional alliances, also bring in other countries, India, Korea, whatever. So, as you can see, this is what's happening right now. So, if there's anyone out there who's just looking at one aspect, looking like at Marites, what's the latest Marites within the ruling coalition, or tinitignan lang niya yung international picture and missing the domestic picture, you're missing the big dynamic here. So, this is the mega dynamic. This is the meta analysis that we need. So ito po yung framework of analysis ko essentially. No? I'm looking at the interaction, at least two-level interaction between the international dynamics, US, China, West Philippines, and the domestic dynamics. Sara, Arroyo, Romualdez, BBM, all of that. So nag-interact itong dalawa na yan. And of course, pag-usapan din natin soon, isa pang bagay, which is China's approval ratings, trust rating the Philippines are extremely low, which gives all the incentives for President Marcos Jr. to take a tougher stance, and also at the same time puts a lot of pressure on the pro-Duterte groups. Ano saan ba sila? Because obviously, hindi na sexy maging pro-China suddenly, di ba? Kasi dati andun si Tatay, barangay geopolitics, anti-America, etc. Ako naman, ayaw ko dun sa mga patronizing American style na saver, etc. No, they were not very helpful to us nung time na binuli tayo sa Scarborough, binuli tayo sa Panganiban Reef. Yeah, wala silang tulong masyado. But things have changed. Things have changed, especially since 2019 onwards. Things are getting interesting. So it's important for the Philippines to play its card well. And President Marcos Jr., he's at the very center of this two-level dynamic that we're talking about. No, this two-level analysis that we're talking about, right? So international relations, we have a two-level analysis kay Robert Putnam. So I'm using a similar framework. All right? So on that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Yan, nag-off na yung, yung Facebook natin kasi wala talagang energy. Thank you so much sa lahat ng mga sumusuporta sa atin dito sa YouTube. O wala na yung Facebook, nag-off na. Maraming salamat. I hope ko pa rin yan. Thank you so much kay Kenneth Abangan, Science and Facts, kay Victoria Baltazar. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your support. Kay Jose Cabuk, kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberio, kay Arnold Ramos. Ayan, never ending daw mga Thank you very much, Just Your Average Joe, at Linda Walton. Don't worry, alam ko pumunta na kayo kay Christian Esguerra. So go ahead, watch him, support him. Fantastic guy, great guy. And catch up tayo soon. I'll get again Ronald to discuss some of these other issues. Otherwise, don't worry, I'll have my own analysis dito sa West Philippine Sea. Don't worry about that. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.